We wanted to share with you some of the best neighborhoods to live in Rome and some neighborhoods that might be more budget friendly. And I have again the beautiful, charming Susanna with me. If you can give us say the best neighborhood for a foreigner to live in, and why is it the best neighborhood?
Okay, so I think that's a really broad question, just to say that there are so many neighborhoods. Rome is huge. People think about the city center, but outside of the city center, there's a whole different bunch of areas where you could live. So I feel like it depends on what you're looking for. So let's say you're someone that's looking for a green area to walk your dog or have your kids play. So I feel like in that case, you would want to live in a neighborhood called Monteverde. It's a neighborhood that is in the southwest part of Italy, but still in the Roman borders. It's not outside of the city at all. It's very central. You can even see the St. Peter's Church from there, from some houses there. It's really beautiful. It is more on the expensive side, I would have to say. It's a residential neighborhood, but prices there have gone pretty high. So I feel if you have a larger budget and you have a family, a big family with dogs and kids, you might want to live there just because it's super safe. There are so many good schools in the neighborhood. I really like the neighborhood. And my family used to live there and I really, really liked it. Moving on to maybe, let's say you're a single guy who's more looking into going out at night and having fun, but still want to keep the residential feeling to a neighborhood. I would suggest personally to live in Pigneto or San Lorenzo. It might be a little bit not for everyone just because it gets kind of noisy during the weekends. It gets very crowded, but there are a lot of places where to go and have a drink. So I feel that could be appealing to some people. And also I feel it depends on what you're looking for, but that areas are very cheap. You can easily find a shared apartment or a studio apartment for a really, good price. So I feel that's a good option for you if you don't have a family with you, if you don't really care for green areas that much, Those are really artsy neighborhood, very artists live there, people that are really young live there. There's plenty of dating options there as well. There are so many clubs. So I feel if that's something you're into and if that's something you're looking for, having those areas in mind would make you save a little bit of money first and then also enjoy a different part of the city. On the same note, I would say that there is one neighborhood that everyone really loves. And if you don't know this neighborhood, you're missing out first. And then the second thing is that this neighborhood is called Trastevere. So it's a beautiful area, very close to the city center. That's why the price here is a little bit above the average, just because, it's a very young neighborhood with a lot of artists as well. Very crowded. So then again, if that's not for you, then you might not want to spend your time there. But I always go there when I have to go out and have dinner. It's really nice. And it just gives out that perfect Roman vibe. So if that's what you're looking for, that area, I think it's really amazing. I know of a lot of students that come here and they decide to rent a house there, but keep in mind they're here only for 6 months or so. So if you're planning on staying longer, that may not be the best investment, right? But if you plan on staying for a few, for just 1 year, then maybe you could live the Italian dream by staying in a more central and traditional neighborhood, but still has plenty of things to do, especially during the day, but also at night, too many, if you ask me. So that's it for the fun neighborhoods, in a way, for the neighbors for younger people. Then again, you like a residential neighborhood, but you don't want to spend a fortune, because that's usually a good compromise, right? You like a residential neighborhood, you don't like the noise, you want to have your quiet, but you don't want, just to be very expensive. In that case, I would suggest one neighborhood that is called San Giovanni. A really beautiful neighborhood. It's pretty central. You don't really need the car if you live in any of this neighborhood, which is a really good option for people, because some people like the car. I do personally love having a car, but I do understand that you might be, traffic might get you and you might not be even used to how the people drive here. Because that's really something, right? They drive really in a really sometimes not responsible way. But aside from that, I think it's important. I always support 100% staying in the city rather than staying outside of the city, just because the transportation system, I feel it's really reliable in the city, not so reliable outside of the city. So the thing is really simple, actually. If you want to live outside of the city, there are so many good areas. Just you need a car, I'd say that. And if you want to live in the city, then you might not need a car at all. But yeah, you will have to look for the neighborhood that best appeals you, that you like best and suits you best. So in that case, yeah, I think a good compromise if you like a residential neighborhood, but do like also, just staying in a city and I don't want to spend a fortune on rent. San Giovanni is a really good option for you. So yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything, but then there are so many other neighborhoods like this one where we're staying now. This one is really cool because it's residential and it might not look as close to the center, but it actually is. Like in 10 minutes, you're in the city center. It's really well connected. You have the subway here. So that's also something that people don't know, right? The people don't really know this neighborhood because it's not very popular and it's not super close to the city center, but it actually is so close. And it takes you, like today, it took me just 20 minutes to come from the station in the city, like the main station in Rome, which is called Termini. From here to there is like 20 minutes in the subway. So it's pretty affordable. And once you're there, you can go anywhere from there. So this one is called Aurelio, I would say, has different name, but Aurelio, it's this neighborhood. And it's really like a good option, I think, if you want to be in the quiet side of the city, but also be very well connected. That's one thing I'd say you need to look for when you search for an apartment, and you will definitely find help there from us as well. Like, you need to find a place that is well connected. So it's like a city subway or a bus, like, I think that's very important. And all of these neighborhoods that I just listed, they all have a really good transportation connection. So that's really good.
Well, thank you for explaining this in detail. One thing I would like to ask, which I'm sure is a question that many of you guys have, which is what's like one of the most expat concentrated areas where you'd say, hey, if I'm going to hang out in this specific neighborhood, likely I will have more foreign friends than if I were to hang out at these other neighborhoods. Are there any that you could mention specifically where you'd say this is more prominent, like where there's a higher concentration of expats?
Yeah, so I mean, I think largely it depends also on universities, right? I think that's a common thing that we can always agree on. If you live like close to university, chances are you're going to run into a lot of international people just coming there for a master's degree maybe, or just, as exchange students. Yeah, younger people that come. And so in the university neighborhood, one university neighborhood that I really like personally is called Ostiense. And you have a really good, international community there as well, just because it's super close to university that like teach courses in English. Yeah, it really attracts a lot of people from all over Europe and the world. But aside from that, I would say that the places where you would find more international people is definitely Trastevere, one of the neighborhoods that I have mentioned before, just because this one is I think it's a very good compromise. If you are someone that doesn't have a big family, so you don't need a lot of space and you can stay in a studio and just, like want that Italian Roman vibe of having, restaurants with fresh pasta and really good, lights at night and having a lot to do at night. If you want that, I feel like all people that come to Rome, they kind of look for that feeling, right? That being lost into the streets of Rome, being very close to the center, but not so close that it's touristy. I feel like Trastevere really offers like a really good compromise on all that. So I think majority of international people you will find in that neighborhood, 100%. But I mean, I feel like wherever you go, there's always like an international community you can refer to, I think. There are so many, now with this globalization, there are so many, cafes and schools that teach languages, that teach English, and they organize stuff. There's a really big French community in Rome as well. So I think you won't have problems getting into a neighborhood and just finding your own community.
Well, you explained it very well. I appreciate you sharing all this info. It was very detailed. If you guys have any questions about neighborhoods in Rome, maybe some that we didn't discuss because they're me, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. As always, we appreciate you. Thank you for watching and we see you on the next video.